The monastery's story began in 829 AD. This icon of the Virgin Mary was found at that time in Prusa, Asia Minor, and many recorded miracles exist. During the time of Emperor Theophilus, who was an iconoclast, a decree was made that all icons were to be destroyed. A nobleman of the area in Prusa told his friends and family, "We will not let the soldiers take the icon and destroy it." He then decided to travel with his friends, servants, and his father, the Lord of Prusa, to take the icon and bring it to Greece. That's what happened. He took animals, servants, and slaves from the surrounding area, and they started their journey to Greece, where the emperor's decrees could not reach. Upon arriving at the Gallipoli Peninsula, the nobleman decided to sit down and rest. During his rest, the icon disappeared and was lost. He immediately became upset because he could not find the icon. The icon appeared here in this area on its own in a miraculous way. At that time, there was nothing here in this area, not even a small village. There were only some shepherds who had their livestock in the area. One night, they saw a light in this area ascending towards the sky. Night after night, they kept seeing it and wondering what it was. On the fourth day, they decided to investigate. They opened a small path, cutting down trees and clearing the bushes, until they reached the area. May the Virgin Mary forgive me for saying this, but in the middle of nowhere, among the rocks, they found the icon standing with a lit vigil lamp next to it. It was revealed that an angel of God would light the vigil lamp since there was no one around to keep it lit. Many people began to visit the icon as the story that it was found in a miraculous way started to spread throughout the region. The noble prince I mentioned earlier never returned to Prusa, nor to his village. He continued his journey as he had vowed, to come to Greece. He eventually reached Hypati, which is outside Lamia. There, he bought land, purchased estates, and lived a normal life. He eventually heard the news that in this area, an icon of the Virgin Mary was found. Since he was a pious man, the nobleman took some friends with him to visit the old icon and to ask for her blessing. They made it to this place and they saw the icon. Looking at the icon, he realized and said, "This icon is mine. I lost it." He then gave money to the shepherds of the area and decided to take the icon to Hypati, where he built a church. On the way to Karpanisi, he heard a voice from the icon that said, "I chose to stay in these mountainous places. If you want to be saved, follow me." The icon once again disappeared from right in front of him. This is when the so-called steps are created that exist on the road between the monastery and Karpanisi. The nobleman saw the shadow of Panagia, creating these footprints, and they exist to this day. Then the nobleman understood that the icon wanted to stay there. So, he sent all his friends who were with him to Hypati and gave them his houses and fields. He then took his best friend, and together they became the first two monks of this monastery. Their names were Dionysios and Timotheus. They came here and carved into the rock and created the first chapel, the one Her Grace is in. When did this happen? It was built between 830 to 850 AD. We're talking about a chapel that is 1,200 years old. What I am telling you is important. Many monasteries don't have a living continuity. Not all monasteries are continuously functioning. This monastery here in Prusos has it. This icon received its name Panagia the Prusiotissa because the nobleman who recognized the icon was from Prusa. This is the story of the finding of the icon and the beginning of monasticism in this wild yet beautiful place. You see what exists here? Nothing but boulders. But it has its beauty. Two married couples visited the monastery a few days ago. The two women came to light a candle and went inside to worship. I think the two men were somewhat atheists, and they didn't really believe in God. From the time they entered the gate until they got here to the church, they were only looking at the cliffs, and they went to the balcony there to see the big boulders. They mentioned, "Whoa, whoa, look at these boulders. How are they held?" I heard them, so I approached them and said, "Would you like to see a stronger boulder?" "What is he saying?" they thought. "Go inside the church and you will see." They entered the church and they saw the icon of the Virgin Mary. When they left the church, they said, You are right, Father. The biggest and strongest boulder is the Virgin Mary. Well, she created everything around us, I told them. I was really impressed by these people who came for touristy reasons, but left rested and fulfilled. I was also relieved to hear this. Indeed, they told me so themselves. This is how the story of the monastery goes. But the story then continues with the Turkish occupation. Many generals passed through here. Marcos Botsaris fought his last battle in Kephalovrissos outside Karpanisi, but he passed through here. He received the blessing of the Virgin Mary from the monastery, as did Karaskakis, who was here at that time. They discussed their strategies, and then Botsaris left and the Battle of Kephalovrissos took place. He was killed in that battle, but his body was brought here and the abbot of the monastery performed the first memorial service for him. They then took him to Messalongi and buried him there. Karaskakis was here for some time while he was sick. I must say that there was a battle behind the mountains, on our left, which is towards the mountainous Nafpaktia in Arakova. It was a big village at that time, and the Turks had surrounded it and were ready to burn it. The nobles of the village secretly came here to the monastery that day in order to beg General Karaskakis to help them. The general, however, had a high fever, and he was not able to leave, but he did what Karaskakis always did. He went down to the Theotokos here in the monastery, to her icon. He knelt and begged her grace to heal him, and did the so-called Tama. Be good to me, Theotokos, and if I return victorious, I will dress your icon with silver. That night, after many months of being sick, the fever broke. He then took his men in the morning and went straight to Arakova in Nafpaktia, fought in the battle and defeated the Turks there. He drove them out and returned to the monastery after a few days and gave the money to dress the icon in silver. You will see an imprint on the silver dressing the icon, on the right shoulder of the Theotokos, which says, "By the expenses of the brave General Georgios Karaskakis, 1824. He then took off the medals he received as a general, his 3 stars, and put them on the icon. He put 2 stars on the shoulders of the Virgin Mary and the 3rd star on her forehead. These 3 stars were Karaskakis's. You will also see some of his weapons in the museum we have. He left a silver buckle, a rifle, a sword, and his cap. These are in the museum for all pilgrims to see." I must also say that during the Turkish occupation, a Greek school operated in the monastery. With the permission of the Turkish governor of Karpanisi, it was a free Greek school, and it was not hidden. Eugenios Aitolos taught here, as well as Anastasios Gordios and other famous teachers of that time. This school building exists to this day, and the building is in the All Saints parking lot. You will see that building that says School of Greek Literacy. It had 100 students at that time. In recent history, during World War II, the Germans burned the monastery because they thought the abbot was hiding Englishmen. They did not investigate at all. They did not even come in to examine the situation. They immediately burned the monastery, all these buildings and those smaller structures. They burned everything. In the end, they went to set fire to the church as well. In fact, they also threw gunpowder in the church. The commander of the Germans set fire with his pistol, ignited the powder, but then flames came out of the icon of the Panagia. They engulfed the German commander, who then laid dead on the floor. Seeing this, the German soldiers left immediately, and the church was not burnt down, even though it has wooden iconostasis from 1718 and 1810. The church did not suffer any damage from the fire. The Virgin Mary, in this miraculous way, drove out the flames and nothing was burned. This is roughly the story of the icon and of this monastery, how it was found and how it survived over the years. Our brotherhood came in 1973. We stayed until 1980, and then the brotherhood left for Mount Athos. For the monastery of Dokiariou, the late Father Chrysostomos took over, and he passed away around this time last year. Today, this monastery continues to be a big pilgrimage. The Virgin Mary's grace spreads her blessing all over the world, not only in Greece, but abroad. I say this because I remember from when I was younger. When I would come to the monastery, we would receive countless letters from abroad. We answered all the requests of people from all over the world. Australia, America, Europe, everywhere. We were replying with our cards and whatever we were sending as a blessing to those people who are from Britannia and settled all over the world.